Okay, welcome to my next video on this order management application. This time I will focus on a requirement that looks something like this. Customers should be searchable like globally via every attribute. So it doesn't matter if you search for first name, last name, whatever. And yeah, it should be globally available. And let's have a look how we can implement that. So it is already tagged with FTAS, which stands for full text search. There is an extension or like an add-on that we already saw, like with the reports thing here. And this one is called FTAS, which stands for full text search. Yeah, the warning here is regarding the translation plugin. We will just continue. We'll change the Gradle script if you want to add that to our application, and then we can start it. And meanwhile, we can take a look. So under the covers, this full text search mechanism from Cuba uses Apache Lucene, which is like a very stable mechanism of using full text search. But actually, we don't have to interact with that as a user at all, and as a developer, normally not at all as well. So let's see. Okay, so our application is started. And now when we log in, nothing's really changed. And the reason is that we, first of all, have to activate it. If we go to the docs from the full text search part, there is something like a quick start guide. And when we take a look, we have to do certain steps in order to make that visible. So the first one is that we have to go to the application properties. And then we will search for FTS. There's an FTS enabled, which is currently false. We'll just change it to true. So then the next thing is that we have to bootstrap the process of the index. So to give you a rough overview how the full text search works, it is building a copy of the already existing data store, which is normally in a relational database, and it will optimize the data, how it is stored, so that full text search mechanisms are able to be executed, which is normally not very easy to do on a relational database. And therefore it basically just copies over all the data in a specific format into its own index. And now what we have to do is when we go to this JMX console here, this is like one way we can do that. Search for FTS, then there is a bean called FTS Manager. As I said before, currently there is no index. So this means that we have to build that index up, and we can do that manually by invoking this Readexall method here. And what it now did is basically it went through the relational database and said, okay, I found 26 items. Now the next thing is that we have to, so after finding this 26 items, it actually just put it into a queue, which will be normally executed on a schedule like once every minute or so. But now we can do that just for now. And this is done by this process entire queue, which we can just invoke here. And it says, okay, I have basically indexed all these 26 items. Now when we log once again, we see that there is input field, which was activated because of the steps we did before, and I can search for whatever I want to search. So when we go to, for example, the products here, we have these elements. Then we can take a look at the customer, which is only me currently, but we can just search for iPad and it will display all data points where this text was found. And for example, here we have this product that we just saw in the product browser, and we can click on it and see the editor of that entity. Besides that, it is also possible to find elements that have a relation to this product. So in this case, that would be, we have a line item here which has an associated product, which is the iPad. So when we go here, we see the actual editor of the line item. Yeah, and if we would go to the orders section, then we would actually see that entry here. So what you can basically do is like search through your complete application. And let's do Mario once again. So here we see some other results. We see all the orders where the associated customer is Mario. Then we have the customer entity here, and we have also the addresses that are related to this customer. So this is like a very powerful mechanism on how this in general works. But it's not only that we can do that globally, but what we can also do is that we go to a particular screen, for example this product list, because we have more than one result here. And in this filter section that we did not really cover up until now, there is a toggle here that has also been activated. And when we activate this one, then it will show us the same input field as we have here, but it will be only scoped into this particular entity. So if I search for iPad, and it will just show me the corresponding results. It is also possible to combine that with a normal filter mechanism. So you can, for example, search for, we could do something like that. Starts with Apple. And this is just a regular filter expression that gets applied to the relational database. And as you might have already seen, we can add another search condition, which is a full text search condition. And we can use, something like that. We can use the full text search and combine it actually with the relational database. So these are the two main areas on how the full text search in general works from a user's point of view. When we take a look at the application, so Studio created an FTAS.xml and put it a corresponding application property here that says this FTAS XML should also be applied to the whole application. And in this XML file, it's basically describing which entities should get indexed at all and for which entities, which attributes should get indexed. Yeah, you have some possibilities to define certain stuff here. So there's something like you can include and give it a regex in order to describe your attributes that you want to get indexed, but it's also possible to do some more advanced topics like creating a Groovy script here inside that will actually trigger some code which should also be applied when the indexes happen and stuff like that. Okay, so this is like the main interaction point from a development side of view, and I think with that we should already be in the situation that we actually have fulfilled the requirements, because we can search for first name, we can search for last name, and it will just show us the correct information. One thing that it's also worth noting when you go further through this quick start guide here, or the documentation in general, the possibility to configure the index process to run every other minute or so. For this, we first of all have to activate the scheduling mechanism of Cuba, which is currently false, and this is like the standard way. So we'll just activate that, and then we can go to schedule tasks. And what we can do now is basically what we did before via the JMX console, where we manually triggered some code to be executed. We can also create a scheduled task that will run every 5 minutes or so. And what it should do is, in this case of the index mechanism, is that it should just take a look at the queue, what is in the queue, and if there is anything to index, then it will put it into the full text search index. So we have this FTAS manager here, and the method is process queue, and then we can do certain stuff regarding the scheduling. I will just do it like that every minute, and should log us that. We can activate it and see how it works. So when we take a look at the execution history, nothing happened here. The reason is there is nothing in the queue because I did not change on my master data source anything. So when we go to the customers and create another something like that, just store it, and when we search for this name in the full text search, it is not immediately found. And the reason is that this process happens asynchronously, and if we go to this execution of this process queue thing once again, then we should see here 1 minute after it has exactly one result, exactly this one customer. So if I search for Krabbe now once again, then it will actually find that. So this is full text search index process is not synchronous, so just be aware of that. And with this active schedule task, it's actually possible to just don't care that much about the FTAS index at all. I think we are done, and see you next time. Bye.